Greetings and salutations. This is Matrick the Squig, also known as Baru in the MMO Embers Adrift. If you're subscribed to this channel, you've probably never heard my voice before, and probably not expecting a video from me at all because I don't create content hardly ever. Comes in waves, and I often just do PvP montage videos with music that I like, just sharing my experiences for my own enjoyment, for others' enjoyment, whatever works. I really like just going back and reminiscing on those good times that I had in those games, and I still go back and watch all the videos on my channel to this day, and I just haven't had any games really to play that are scratching the itch, nothing that I really wanted to share with anybody or just put out there, so I just don't make stuff, but here I am. So I got Embers Adrift about a year ago when it came out. I was looking for something new to play. I think classic WoW Season of Discovery type thing was coming around too, so that was available to me at the time. So I didn't really have any interest in playing the game at the moment, but I did log in and play. It was pitch black, and then I logged in the next day and it was pitch black, and the next day it was also pitch black, just eternal darkness, nighttime, all the time. It sounded appealing in the description of the game, but it was just not enjoyable to me at the time. I couldn't figure out anything really. People were in full swing. I was being antisocial, it's a group-based game, but I'm a solo player for the most part. I love solitude. I like enjoying myself. So I didn't really seek out a team or anything, and that'll cost you sometimes in this game. There's a lot more solo activity now since I've actually started playing the game officially. I gave up almost after 3 days of darkness, but I saw that they were constantly updating the game, and the Discord was really active. It seemed really cool, so I followed along with the development, and it really seemed like the team was eager to make something. So I was just interested in the enthusiasm. The community seemed to be really enjoying it, at the very least. So I was looking forward to maybe trying it out again down the line. Got into Season Discovery, was going to make a video. I have a video, didn't post it. PvP video, it wasn't for me. Didn't like it. Didn't like the new abilities and stuff. Just wasn't my jam. Anyways, I'm a rambler. I'll talk all day. So, moving forward, here I am. We're playing Embers Adrift. You can watch along, just giving a little introduction here. So I started the game anew. I had a level 2 before. I deleted him and recreated him because I liked the name Baru. I actually came up with the name Baru when I made this character on this game, and I've been using it since in other games. Of course, we all know the advent of Baldur's Gate 3 was possibly one of the greatest things that's ever happened to any of us in our entire lives, and that really got me hooked on just RPGs in general. I got literally all of the CRPGs you could get, just all of them, not like some of them, not most of them, just every single one I could possibly find that was like Baldur's Gate 1, 2, Icewind Dale, etc., Temple of Elemental Evil, and started writing stories for Baru. His full name is actually Baru the Whaler. He's an Arctic dwarf, and he's saved his village from starvation by crafting a boat, which was like a forbidden knowledge, to hunt the great whale, and saved his people kind of thing. Work in progress, but I branch off a lot, trying to stay focused here. So I made a new character, started right at level 1, see some people walking around. I see Aaron in chat saying, any new players want to run around, I can show you the ropes, and I was like, man, that doesn't sound fun at all. I do not want to do that. And then I was like, I didn't do that last time, and I'm trying to experience this game for how they want it to be experienced. And I know it's a group-based game, so I was like, you know what? I'll tag along. And what ensued was one of the grandest adventures I've had in my gaming experience. It was just a total unique experience. And it's weird watching the video, because I've watched videos before, and I'm like watching the little screen going along as I'm talking. I'm like, this looks boring as fuck. Like, that was my initial thought when I was watching somebody else's gameplay video of one of the higher level dungeons. I'm like, this does not really look fun to me. And then here I am playing it, doing the same things, and I'm like, what? Why is this enjoyable? Why is this so fun to me? I'm not sure still right now at this point, but I feel like it has to do with the community and just the grouping aspect of the game. It's just it's something different. It's an adventure. You're setting forth. You're traveling a distance. There's things to see and do along the way. We all have different quests. We're on different steps of different quests, and we came together, this little crew of two newbies and Aaron, and we did the quest. They caught me up to their quest. Then we got another person involved, and then we were in Central Veins before I knew it, which is the first dungeon. And I just experienced more in the game in just 6 hours being in this group than I had in 3 days of attempting to play it by myself. And I did notice one of the solo players that was starting off in the same area as us, he opted out, or she, or they, opted out of the group. And they're like, I want to figure out the game and enjoy it their own way. And I get that, and I respect that. And I had the same mentality as that as well when I first started. Thankfully, this person I just saw him today still playing as well, still doing the solo thing. But we just outpaced him significantly in level and gear, and more than likely in game knowledge as well, because we're playing as a team and we're learning together. So I guess that's just what's fun about it. I'm kind of an antisocial solo player, and I experienced group content in a meaningful way. I've come from video games like World of Warcraft and Warhammer Online and Age of Conan, Guild Wars 2. I've played all the big ones, Final Fantasy 14. Final Fantasy 14 actually does have fairly enjoyable group content. They have an atmosphere that can make just running around with a group enjoyable, but at the same time, it's just there's so much stuff that I don't like and don't care about in that game. So a lot of these old school feeling MMOs, you have to kind of make your own fun in these games. Like you could hop onto Star Wars Galaxies right now and try to play that game solo, and you're probably just going to have a just jarring, polarizing experience when you go into the little shuttle port. I forgot what they're called. It's just like, whoa, you're on a planet. That's a full-size planet that you can just walk around, and it's jarring. And if you don't know what you're doing and you're just trying to start out, you're going to have a terrible time. It's not going to be enjoyable at all. But if you go in there with a group of 4 friends or 2 friends with the goal of building a village or starting a trade emporium or being the best dancers in the galaxy, and having that idea in your mind of what your character is and how you're going to enjoy the game, you can have the time of your life playing a game like that. But at the same time, you can have just the worst experience ever. It's just a mindset when you're going into a game. How are you approaching this game? When you approach games with a World of Warcraft mentality, and then you don't have World of Warcraft in front of you, you can lose interest. And I have lost interest in a lot of games and with that mentality. So I wanted to talk about gameplay styles. You have the solo players. They're a thing, and there's a lot more than I anticipated seeing in this style of game that promotes group play. And I think it's awesome that people can find their enjoyment in the way they want to. And I think it's cool that I am a solo player myself and have found new enjoyment in group content. And I look forward to it, honestly. I look forward to seeing the guys that I grouped up with, and we have been seeing each other. This is my 4th day playing the game, and pretty much every single one of those days I've seen most of the people that we started off with, and a couple have been a day off or so, and then we go back and we help them out, get them caught up, go run the same dungeons over again. And it's like you think about repeating content in other games and like going back and doing the quest or helping your friend, and it's like you do that with your friends that you get into the game. It's like, yeah, I'll power you through it, but it's like we just want to join the group for the adventure. It's like we already did it, but we're a team and we're back together again. The fellowship, the boys are back in town. This game has a lot of dialogue, and you have to just go up and click on people. There's no quest indicators or anything, so you don't know if somebody has something important to say to you or not until you go up and talk to them. And that can be really frustrating for a lot of players. And I figured out that you don't have to talk to anybody really. You could just go about your day, vendoring, crafting, skipping all the dialogue, not reading any of the quests because the quests don't give you any experience. I think that's awesome because you do the quests once, you get the lore, you get that knowledge, you're going back on your alt, you can skip all that. Or, like a lot of my friends, they don't want to read anything. They want to skip everything, they want to play the game and enjoy the game their own way. And I think that's nice that you have the option to do either or. And I personally like reading the quests. I like learning the lore and the history of the world. Helps me develop my character, how I view my character better. And there's also some decent loot from quests, but a lot of the quest loot, is not as good as something you've already come across in the dungeon. I don't mind that too much. I don't really care about the gear. The gear is like interchangeable. It's not soulbound all the time. There are some things that are soulbound, but I get something, it's no longer of use to me. I hand it down to the next person, or I see somebody in need of it. I've gotten awesome healing gloves from somebody already, and as well as like a healing offhand that they saw. They encouraged me to build healing gear because I'm a healer. As much as I don't necessarily want to be a healer, I didn't really think about that when I created a support. I was thinking more of like a paladin, but the farther I get into the game, the more healing I'm doing. But I'm having a great time at it, and I really don't heal. I don't like it. I like playing hybrids that can heal, but I'd rather opt to do damage. Which brings me to the next thing, which is build variety. I haven't talked to anybody about this. It's just my own impression of it. Is the gear is a lot of stats on the gear. Stats do different things. You can stack certain stats to get certain effects. I could build haste to attack and cast faster, or I could build more armor and damage resistance to tank better. And my class does have some off-tanking abilities, it seems. So that's what I had in mind. Is I'm going to wear heavier armor. I'm going to have some defensive abilities, so I'm going to be able to take the heat. And when I do pull aggro, I can pretty effectively tank the mobs for a decent amount of time, which I really enjoy. I do like going off the beaten path with builds. I'm a huge fan of meme specs. I've never been a min-maxer or a meta player. I just want to play how I want to play and find my own enjoyment. So I haven't been asking advice. I have gotten advice like the healing advice, but I haven't asked for any advice on how to play or build my character. I'm going to build in multiple sets. I'm going to have a tanky set. I'm going to have a healing set, and then I'm going to have a DPS set as well. And then that way I can kind of fill in those niche roles, even if I'm not like specialized for that. My next class I plan on making is probably going to be a warden. I think they do the poison damage, and then there's also the warlord. Get those mixed up all the time. One's a support, one's a striker, I believe, that does poison damage. So I want to kind of try to do like a poison build with ranged. Try to make a some sort of mystic type druid character. There isn't really any magic classes in this game, but there's not dwarfs either. But I'm a dwarf. I'm still a dwarf, so I could still be a druid if I want to. They can't stop me. I mention that because I've seen a lot of people mention and talk about the lack of a magic class being a major turnoff for them in this game. And I totally understand. I've never been a mage player myself. One of my first main characters was a priest. And I love clerics, but that was when I switched or transitioned into hybrids. I discovered something that could be a caster and a martial class at the same time, and that was what I wanted to do from then on, pretty much exclusively, almost exclusively play hybrids. So, but I also like making my own characters, my own ideas. How my character plays. That's a big part of how I enjoy the game. If I just go in there and I'm an orc warrior or a dwarf, cleric, and that's it. And I get the abilities and I just look at them and I don't put my imagination into any of that stuff. It takes away from my experience. It's just going about the motions of the class and clicking the buttons and accepting the quests and not reading anything and then just looking for the gear from the dungeon to get to this, to do this. And then at the end of the day, it's like you look back on it and it's like, all I got was, I ran that whole dungeon and I didn't even get the piece of gear I wanted, and it's this big disappointment. And that was like the whole point of the experience for you. And it's kind of a bummer sometimes. So I go into games, I try to have a different mindset. I'm on an adventure, I'm playing a character, I'm playing a role, and that allows me to enjoy a game in other ways that is not available physically in the game itself. I'm playing a dwarf, but there's only humans. But I really appreciate that you can change the size and shape of your character, because one of my friends is a halfling. I'm a dwarf. I've seen a few people who look like elves. I've seen some half giant looking people as well. And I imagine that they're maybe doing something similar to me to enjoy the game a little bit more. Just to touch on the magic classes a little bit more, they've stated that there is no magic in the world. I believe, don't quote me on that. It's my fourth day playing. But where did you come from before? What's the world before? I was a wizard before I walked across that bridge. I lost my magic. I'm on a quest to recover that magic through investigating the Ember Stones or the Ember Rings. That's my own adventure. I just came up with that. That's going to be a character now for me on my low magic druid or mystic that I'm going to make, and I'm going to play him in that fashion. And it might not be exactly what I have in mind, but it's going to be enjoyable. I feel like a lot of my message here is just enjoy the game in your own way. Make your own enjoyment. You don't have to be limited by the video game itself. Like, you can use your imagination to supplement your gameplay, and I find it so much more enjoyable when I am doing that. And that sums up my first Embers Adrift video, and my first video ever recording audio over the track. Been using this DaVinci Resolve, and I'm not good at editing. I did not edit this video at all. I just talked over the 20-minute clip that I had recorded. If you like that kind of content, just let me know. I'd be happy to make more of these videos. I've got 8 more clips similar to these with dungeons and running around. I'd love to just talk over more, about the game, topics, anything like that. I would be happy to cover, research, and I had a lot of fun actually making this. It was way more enjoyable than I anticipated. So thanks a lot for tuning in. That's about it. So see ya.